Breaking news out of the Middle East tonight, and the picture on the ground is moving fast. American forces struck Iran, hitting the Darkhovin nuclear facility directly. United States Central Command confirmed the strikes also targeted the forces responsible for killing American service members, with additional hits recorded around Hormozgan province near Bandar Abbas. Iran's response came quickly. Missiles rained down on American bases inside Jordan. Sirens sounded across Oman. Airports and port facilities near Aqaba were evacuated as a precaution. For the second time in 2 days, Iranian forces struck a water treatment facility inside Kuwait. 2 American drones were reportedly shot down over Ahvaz and Dalan. Iranian officials claimed 2 fighter jets and 3 additional aircraft were destroyed in a strike on the Al-Asad airbase. President Trump addressed the American casualties from the missile strikes in Jordan directly, calling the losses deeply painful and saying the nation grieves alongside the families of the fallen. He was blunt about what comes next. Iran, he said, will never be allowed to acquire nuclear weapons, and if Tehran refuses to change course, Washington isn't losing sleep over it. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth followed with his own statement, saying the sacrifice of American troops only strengthens the nation's resolve going forward. Iran's retaliation in Jordan reportedly hit the Al-Asad airbase with a combination of missiles and drones, destroying 2 fighter jets and 3 additional aircraft, according to Iranian claims, along with damage to aircraft shelters and parking areas. In Kuwait, drone strikes reportedly hit 2 American military installations, with Iranian officials claiming a weapons depot and radar installation were destroyed. The Iranian Revolutionary Guard claimed a weapons depot was hit at a camp near Al-Jahra, along with a Patriot radar system and an air surveillance radar at Ali Al Salem airbase. Fires broke out at the targeted American installations in Kuwait following the strikes. Iranian military officials framed the attacks as retaliation for American strikes inside Iran that they claimed hit civilian infrastructure and residential areas. Saudi Arabia condemned the Iranian strikes on Kuwait, Bahrain, and Jordan. The Saudi Foreign Ministry called Iran's actions a clear violation of international law, rejecting any strikes on power stations, water facilities, and critical urban infrastructure, and calling for an end to all military action to preserve regional peace and security. Gulf nations and the European Union joined the condemnation, with a shared call to keep the Strait of Hormuz open without conditions or restrictions of any kind. Iran formally announced it was suspending relations with the United States. Iran's ambassador to Pakistan, Reza Amiri Moghadam, posted on social media that President Trump talks about serving the people while dismantling 2 major diplomatic breakthroughs, tearing up the Memorandum of Understanding less than 3 weeks after signing it. He argued the United States had trampled basic principles of international law and that the global community owes it to itself to condemn the American strikes. Iran's military chief of staff said American forces should get out of the region immediately, warning that if American troops truly grasped the lesson their own commanders have tried to teach them, they wouldn't waste a single moment before retreating. Meanwhile, diplomatic efforts intensified elsewhere. Qatar and Iraq pushed for talks to guarantee free shipping through the Strait of Hormuz. Iraq's Prime Minister, Ali Al Salem, met with Qatar's Emir, Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani, in Doha to discuss the deteriorating regional situation. Both leaders stressed that dialogue, not war, was the only path forward for the region, and called for strict adherence to the commitments laid out in the Islamabad Memorandum of Understanding. Iran's Foreign Minister, Abbas Araghchi, spoke by phone with his Iraqi counterpart, Fuad Hussein, and said the statements of a handful of individuals shouldn't be allowed to damage the broader relationship between the 2 countries. On a separate diplomatic track, Deputy Prime Minister Ishaq Dar spoke by phone with Venezuela's new foreign minister, congratulating Ivan Gil on his appointment. A statement from the Foreign Office noted that Dar also expressed condolences over the loss of life and property from a recent earthquake in Venezuela, affirming that the government and people stand with Venezuela during this difficult time. Switching gears to something lighter, soccer fever has completely taken over, and it's not just abroad. Big screens have gone up in major cities to broadcast the matches, with crowds packing D Chowk in Islamabad, Liberty Chowk in Lahore, and the neighborhood nicknamed Little Brazil in Karachi's Liari district. The energy in those crowds is something else. You can feel the noise before you even see the screen. The Golden Boot race is the story everyone's arguing about. Mbappe has the most goals of the tournament with 10, but Messi would need something special in the final to have a real shot at the award. Mbappe has already taken the record for most World Cup goals across a career away from Messi, sitting at 22 total compared to Messi's 21. It's the kind of debate that splits a room down the middle. Greatness measured in trophies versus greatness measured in moments, and everyone seems to have a side. Back to domestic politics, and a sharper question is being asked out loud. Does a handful of parliamentary seats matter more than a human life? If mistakes were made, the argument goes, the state shouldn't be the one punished for it, because the people actually paying the price for these protests aren't officials. They're ordinary citizens caught in the middle. There's a growing call for the federal government to lift internet restrictions ahead of the upcoming election. At a rally in Kotli, PPP chairman Bilawal Bhutto Zardari didn't hold back. He said the Truth and Reconciliation Committee had written to the government offering to play a constructive role, and the very next day an answer came, but not from the Truth Commission itself, and not from the Prime Minister either. He turned his fire on the ruling party, promising that come the 27th of July, the ballot box would deliver a reckoning people would remember for a long time. He put the real question to voters directly: who do you actually want governing Kashmir? Is it a government that won't even acknowledge Mirpur and Rawalakot as part of Kashmir on a map? He asked people to judge the ruling party by its actions, not its promises, questioning whether a controversial statement out of the Sialkot Assembly reflected actual government policy. And if it did, he warned, keeping that minister in the cabinet would cost the coalition dearly. His message to anyone in government who thinks Kashmir's 10 seats are in their back pocket was blunt. Kashmiris answer to no one, and any conspiracy against the Kashmir cause will be defeated. He dismissed those who gather a few thousand people and call it a movement, insisting that anyone who's had to leave their home over the conflict is every bit as Kashmiri as anyone who stayed, and that nobody has the right to demand their seats be taken away. What's under threat, he said, isn't a handful of assembly seats, it's the bond between Kashmir and the rest of Pakistan. And that bond was being deliberately undermined. The Federal Information Minister, Ataullah Tarar, addressing an event in Lahore, said the kind of divisive tactics being used by certain politicians have already buried their political relevance. He pointed to the public reaction to Reham Khan's comments, saying people are furious that she'd now questioned the legitimacy of the military operation the country just fought and won. He said the Prime Minister and the Field Marshal earned international respect for that campaign, and suggested PTI supporters think stunts like this will revive their political fortunes, when in reality, he argued, the party's credibility is already buried, and its members are busy turning on each other. He also accused Bilawal Bhutto of trying to fan the very flames he claims to be putting out over the comments made by ruling party ministers about Kashmir. Sindh's senior minister, Sharjeel Inam Memon, fired back, saying those same ruling party ministers had insulted the people of Kashmir with careless political rhetoric, and worse, they were too arrogant to even apologize for what they said. He accused Bilawal of trying to strip away the emotional bond that Kashmir and Gilgit-Baltistan have long felt with the rest of the country. Turning to the weather, cloudbursts have hit the Neelam Valley in Azad Kashmir hard. Flash flooding along the Katapayara stream destroyed 5 homes, 20 shops and 2 schools, and swept away 3 vehicles along with several motorcycles. Across the line of control in Indian-administered Kashmir, heavy rains triggered flooding that's left at least 10 people dead, with several more still missing. In Rajouri district, rivers and streams overflowed their banks, submerging low-lying areas, destroying dozens of homes and sweeping away hundreds of vehicles. In Mansehra, the Kagan and Siran valleys and surrounding areas saw intense rainfall, with confirmed cloudbursts in Jaburi and Vargain. Numerous hotels and homes sustained damage as rivers and streams swelled beyond capacity. Landslides were reported in multiple locations, and flooding on roadways disrupted traffic across the region. A car heading toward Iran went off the road near Kuwait and fell into a ravine, killing 4 people, including 2 women, and leaving 1 person injured. The tourist who died in the crash was from Sialkot. Back to the political fallout, officials are calling the recent military campaign a defining moment in the country's history, and they're calling Reham Khan's remarks about it both unacceptable and deeply troubling. Federal Minister Tariq Fazal Chowdhury said the PTI founder and his family never miss a chance to make statements that undermine the country. Minister of State for Interior Talal Chowdhury went further, saying Reham Khan's comments prove these figures are effectively acting as proxies against Pakistan, that their real target isn't just state institutions, it's the country itself. Legal action has reportedly been initiated against her. Minister of State Bilal Azhar Kayani called her remarks a continuation of PTI's broader pattern of anti-Pakistan rhetoric, asking rhetorically what else you'd call statements like that if not hostility toward your own country. Indian media has seized on Reham Khan's controversial remarks, turning them into a propaganda tool against Pakistan, running her comments about the military campaign as a lead story for days. In the interview in question, the PTI founder's sister had directly criticized the Pakistani armed forces over their conduct during the operation. In response to the backlash, Pakistan's cybercrime authority summoned Reham Khan to appear in Islamabad. The notice accused her of spreading false and inflammatory content on social media, designed to damage the reputation of state institutions. For her part, Reham Khan has alleged that the military campaign was actually the product of collusion between the Pakistani military and Indian Prime Minister Modi, claiming Modi could have fixed Pakistan in 2 minutes if he wanted to, and that India didn't strike Pakistan at Israel's request. It's the kind of claim that's impossible to verify and easy to get angry about, and it's exactly why it's spreading the way it is. In a security briefing, Pakistan's military spokesperson addressed students taking part in the 2026 summer camp, giving a detailed rundown of national security threats and the broader terrorism landscape. Students said they came away with a much clearer understanding of the internal and external security challenges facing the country. They were also briefed on what officials describe as the destructive roles played by hostile networks operating out of Baluchistan and the Khyber region, tied to Indian-backed sabotage. Officials also flagged the rapid spread of misinformation and propaganda as a growing threat in its own right. More than 4,000 students from over 18 cities took part in this year's summer camp program. Deputy Prime Minister Ishaq Dar also met with National Party Chairman Dr. Abdul Malik Baloch. Dar reaffirmed that the federal government remains committed to resolving the challenges facing the people of Baluchistan and driving development in the province, promising that economic progress and prosperity for Baluchistan's people will be pursued strictly within the bounds of the constitution. Dr. Baloch, for his part, said the remaining Baloch population doesn't currently feel it has meaningful public support or an outlet for dissent. In crime news, the so-called Pinky Gang remains active across several areas. Karachi police arrested Kamran Murad, identified as the brother of gang leader Pinky, in an operation near Gora Chowrangi. According to the senior superintendent for the East Zone, officers recovered roughly 2 kilograms of hashish and half a kilogram of methamphetamine during the arrest. Investigators say the suspect had been supplying drugs across multiple neighborhoods in Karachi and has previous convictions on narcotics charges. 2 new cases have been registered against him at the Jamshed Quarters police station. And in Matiari, more than 10 freight cars derailed from a cargo train, disrupting both the up and down rail lines. The incident occurred near Wahabshah railway station, halting train movement in the area. Both tracks are expected to remain closed for at least 24 hours while crews clear the wreckage.